Flan for din ichi kokuch tu aljacht was donach forgrich forbaniat nar konjardel Robswan, Robsudinjarie, Rimko Abra, Noko Giva Bdina Brekta, Ribal Savra. Film bluje dochem lava, Uad gan gnetjam, Horab sudden schlicht notbogenjem. Flan for
Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order. I'm Celtic Templar and welcome back to another how-to video series. And today all we're going to be discussing on how to dress is the early Roman Briton light cavalry. Now when we think of the light cavalry, we automatically don't think much about them. But that's where we should. As for one, the light cavalry of the Roman Britons at this point in time, they were, well, kind of unique in their own way. Because unlike the cataphract in our last video, the said light cavalry units were not exactly shock-absorbing heavy cavalry. The light cavalry were what you would call, well, light cavalry. They didn't have that luxury of charging into their opponents. What they did do, however, is charge around their opponents, hurling javelins, or even throwing war darts, which you soon will see me probably wear on my belt. The cavalry units in this point in timeline had different variation of units in history. For example, when we think about the light units, like the light cavalry, is that they had hardly any armor. In fact, I'm only wearing a shirt of mail. I'm not wearing leg guards. I'm not wearing arm guards. The only other point of armor I'm wearing besides this mail shirt is my helmet. And even then, they were sometimes rare, to say the least. In fact, this one is a very unique model. And over the years, this would have evolved in different variation of ways, so there are different designs. Now, some of y'all are probably going to ask this one, oh, but Templar, when it comes down to their equipment's probably faulty, that's why we don't hear much about them. No, it's because most people don't want to talk about them. One, their combat horse wasn't this. It was this, a pony. Now many of y'all would ask, Templar, why a pony? Well, why would someone actually ride a pony in battle? Well, here's the thing. You're an everyday said working Joe across your land in, well, Britannic Isles. Such as, say, well, I could afford this, and as well a pony, for travel. And the fact is, that's what these type of animals were meant for. Traveling. In other words, ponies were meant to go from point A to point B. And in doing so, you use the pony to, well, travel at a certain pace. In fact, it's not a trot, but it's, well, it's not even a gallop even. It's something in between. And in doing so, they were light and fast enough to go from point A to point B. In fact, there are even accounts from Saxon chronicles that even state on how light cavalry actually darted from point A to, like, from the forests and out into the fields to hurl their javelins upon them and then dart back into the forests yet again. All the while, making sure that the infantry can't keep up. So, that's like saying, like, well, being attacked every day and night by your opponent, and that's what the Welsh cavalry did. Now, when it came to major pitched battles, Unlike with the heavy cataphracts that charged into the ranks, the light cavalry charged around the ranks. In other words, they charged with the heavy cavalry like the cataphracts, but instead of, smashing into them, what they did is they charged alongside them, and as soon as the said main cavalry unit of the cataphracts made their impact upon the enemy, the light cavalry would hurl their javelins from the side, attacking the opponent from their exposed flank. In other words, it's like, hey, our left flank is being attacked by the said, by this heavy cavalry unit. What should we do? Oh no, we're getting attacked from the rear. So it's kind of funny if you think about it. But a lot of y'all are going to probably ask this one. Okay, Templar, if this one is a very easy subject to talk about, and pretty awesome one to talk about, why don't I hear about it? Well, that's because, as I said before, not that many people want to read about a light cavalry unit. Most people are either interested in heavy, early idealisms of a knight. Yeah, I one of those guys here that's actually most, kind of thing. One, it's not every day you hear of tales of guys riding into battle with ponies. Now these are ponies. Like think Lord of the Rings, for example, a hobbit riding one of those, small horses. Here's the thing, that's the thing. So in fact, ponies were the everyday type of military unit. And the fact is, they were bred like wool crazy for these light cavaliers. Now, from what I can understand in reading and text and even some pictorial evidence, it shows the light cavalry having saddlebags on both sides of their saddle that carry bundles of javelins or even war darts. Now, I want to put that out there. That's saying something to say the least. So, maybe y'all would ask, okay, Templar, if these guys are so badass, what happened to them? Well, that's simple. The evolution of combat military. And the fact is, over the years, the light cavalry kind of had to lose a lot of equipment, such as mail, even helmets, and even the sword. The sword would slowly also pass away from the said light cavalry. One, they started to be unable to afford it. Now, if I was, say, able to afford it or something like that, the only thing I probably could afford would probably be a helmet. My sword would probably be an heirloom or even mail. And as well, spears were an everyday commodity. In fact, these were the most common thing that the said light cavalry were said to use. In fact, it's actually stated that when they attacked their opponent, they either attacked them at night or during the early mornings. It would be rarely they would actually be used in midday or such like that. But just imagine it, you're about to go to bed, all of a sudden you get attacked in the middle of the night by light cavaliers who are hurling javelins into your camps. And this isn't the well-trained Roman army that has a massive fortress all around it. This is the Saxons who have based up camp around your country, which you know about. So in doing so, you could use the light cavalry to attack them in every way possible. Now, some of y'all would probably also ask, oh, but Templar, did they also use bows and arrows? Yes, but unfortunately, due to the fact that one, these guys were, what you would call that, of a different stock in history, most of the time they did not use a recurve bow, as they're, I don't know why, but apparently they did use it at one point or two during the 4th to 5th and 6th century, but they slowly phased out of it. Probably because they wanted to put more wood into making something like this, or even that of a longbow, rather than making a recurve, as recurves were a little bit more expensive to manufacture and time-consuming. Now, their swords. Swords, there was nothing particular about this, there was nothing special about it, it was just a wooden handle with a long blade. This was, in fact, a lot of times the tips were rounded for more cutting type of purposes, especially for a tip cut. Now, if you don't know what a tip cutting is, it's when you hit them with the tip of the blade. And cavaliers would always have a more roundish blade, meaning it's a lot more of like a hitting something somebody with a cheese grater, if you think about it, rather than a, well, big metal club. So just imagine that. In fact, the tips of the blades would be sharpened, but they would be extremely rounded. But the fact is that they were so sharp. In fact, it's stated that they could probably cut through mail. Now this is a myth, though. We don't know if this one's true. But I believe it's a myth. But the fact is, these swords started to get smaller and smaller over the years, to the point that they weren't even considered a sword anymore. Their shield, it was just an everyday round shield, nothing in particular. So yeah. But enough talking. Why don't we get right into it, shall we?
jawrach yn aswl I fawr. Mysig rhywbeth yn schwar yn cryf wel rŵn ar ôl sawn I foloch yn cry anien gach dwylsti yn tawran I nach danen ach fwy gach
still fatigued. Now, I also know that you're all probably going to say, Templar, why in the first scene were you looking as though you were trying to do a ride-by or something like that? Well, I tried my best to do the best I could without a pony, so yeah. Now, when we automatically think of the light cavalry, as I said, there's little information on them. Now, I do apologize, I didn't have a pony for this, but what can you do? Now, in the entire retrospect of our understanding and history and knowledge of the light cavalry, the light cavaliers, they were mostly meant to be javeliniers. Now, at one point in time, they did use the bow and arrow, such as the recurve bow, but they slowly phased out of it by the time around probably the early 6th century, some accounts say, or some accounts even the late 5th century. Probably because, one, they were putting more material into making their long bows, or as well into making more spears, or javelins, rather than making a expensive and time-consuming process of making a said bow. So, yeah. Now, in doing so, though, other things that would also change would even be this, the helmet. The helmet would evolve in several ways. One, sometimes you saw it without the nasal guard. Sometimes you saw it without the cheek guard. Sometimes you saw it with this conical dome. In other words, there were various type of ways it could have changed. Sometimes, in fact, a lot of times they originally had neck guards, but over at the time, they started to fade out of that because, one, it got so expensive. And as well, even mail. Mail was expensive, it's extremely expensive. Because one, people today say, oh, it's cheap today. Here's the thing. This stuff is very expensive, to say the least. Because mail is not the everyday equipment that we call today as an easy-to-go type of armor. In fact, even in the late medieval period, this like a shirt of mail like this big would have been very expensive. Now, as well, the swords started to change over the years. They went from this size to even shorter of this size because, one, it got so expensive to manufacture these. In fact, a lot of times these might have been my grandfather's. Now, the sword blade themselves, instead of being the tip blade as we somewhat see right now, it would have been more of a roundish shape, like that of Celtic Gallic swords, if none of you know what I'm talking about. Take a look at this, like an image of, say, I tried my best to find one, but unfortunately it's kind of problematic to find a cavalry sword, because Gallic cavalry swords were stated to have a rounded blade. In other words, instead of this tip point we see on this one, it's supposed to be a little bit roundish, but has a needle-like blade. Or razor-like blade as well, I guess is the best way to put it. Because it stated that it was sharpened to the point that it's, well, a tip cutting. Now, I don't know what tip cutting is. Tip cutting is when you cut with the tip of the blade, not the shaft of it. That's how you're supposed to do it, especially on cavalry. It's when you have the full weight or the full blow of the said weapon into the tip. And that's where it was. And with a razor-like blade like that, there are accounts that even stated it chopped through mail, although that one sounds a little ridiculous. As well, their other equipment, such as their shields. Shields, these were less common, so they came in different variation of sizes, though this might have been the biggest as they could have used. Now, one major thing I can automatically tell y'all, though, is the light cavalry don't get as much credit as they should. Do you think that they should get more credit for, well, their role in protecting Britannia? It seems that the fact that, one, that actually might have been the reason why the Saxons took longer to conquer most of Britain as the way they did. But over the years, though, the light cavalry started to die off, especially in various regions. But there are many accounts that stated if it wasn't for the light cavalry, the region of Strathclyde, Cornwall, and Wales would have fallen long ago, because while the cataphracts died off, the light cavalry, on the other hand, stayed for a couple more centuries. In fact, some accounts state that up until like the 11th to 12th century. So that's saying something about it. The only different thing about it is they started to use less of the helmet and mail over the years, as one, it became more expensive to manufacture. But that's just the economical accounts. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe for more. And click that bell button for more notifications when another video comes up. As well, subscribe to the channel to help the channel grow. If y'all want me to do a video on a certain military unit in history, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to get right into it. But anyways, guys, hope to see y'all very soon in the next one. And, well, keep those blades sharpened. Anyways, guys, Celtic Empire. Have a great day.